Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 40. We made it. 40 episodes of Tactical Crouch. We're a competitive Overwatch podcast, soon to be a competitive teamfight tactics podcast if all things continue to trend the way that they've been trending. Joe and I haven't gotten sleep in days.
I've been up for 30 minutes.
I know. We played until about 3 a.m. Pacific time, and we record at 11 a.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/KickedTripod on Tuesdays. By the way, boom, check that off the list.
What a transition.
I know. But I kind of forgot that we had a show to do. And so I'm waking up.
That's so weird. Too, you were the one that reminded me because I forgot when we were playing.
I forgot at 2:30 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm like, boom. Hey, John, remember.
We have a show to do.
This isn't all you do anymore. We did just start the show and kind of got debated here. Brandon M., thanks for the donation. $5. You're all awesome. Never forget that. Thank you, Brandon. Love you. Thank you. All right. Normally we don't do that during the show, but I just felt compelled.
No.
The power of Torb compels me. And
Let's be honest. How much of a hangover did you have today?
I have not I have not drank while eating tea or drinking during teamfight tactics.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, you were here, Yiska. You were there the one night where I was sorry if this is generally pretty family friendly because we can be about whatever we want. We were playing and it was I started basically as the night progressed, I was drinking more and more, and Yiska came on at like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. or whatever, and I just gave him the roughest time, and I have no idea why. And I need to publicly apologize to you and say that you probably deserved it at some point or another.
Probably did.
Yeah. So
like building like 2 sword breakers on your stupid units, you know.
Yeah.
Sword breakers. All right, we're not going to do that. Welcome to episode 40. This is Tactical Crouch. We're a competitive Overwatch podcast. We talk primarily Overwatch League, but all sorts of things you need to know in the competitive Overwatch universe. Before we get started, though, you should know the show is supported 100% by our patrons. So if you like the show, want to support, the best way to do so is hop over to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch as well during the live show, as Mr. Kaku just did, and thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Also, for those who are currently patrons, we did not get a game night in for June because we started up the Patreon at the end of June, and there just wasn't enough time to fit it in like the span of a week. We didn't think we would get our game night goal that fast. So we're going to do 2 in July. And we'll keep you posted with all that. If you were a patron for June and have had to cancel for whatever reason, you'll still be invited to that. Don't worry. We'll make it right. We're cool like that. Follow us on Twitter at tactical_crouch. And, of course, tweet us your questions and topics you'd like to have discussed in the show at tactical_crouch. Otherwise, we actually, if you are a patron or a sub, you have access to a specific channel in Yiska's Discord, which we've kind of merged with the old Overwatch League Discord. I've sent everybody over that way. I'm going to be shuttering that this week. And you can post questions there, and we'll snag them. We'll snag the mostly serious ones or the ones that are really funny. And we'll talk about them on the show. Show records live on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And, of course, watch and listen everywhere. Let's talk about our news brought to you by Battle Crab, Maid, and Peter Y., our Patreon producers, if you will. Thanks so much for your support of the show. Battle Crab, Maid, Peter Y., you're all legends in our books. Even Yiska's books, which he actually has a book of legends. Like the physical, like Norse mythology, you've got Greek mythology, 1930s jazz artists, and then these Patreon producers. So that's a big deal. Being up there with Alexander the Great, and
good book recommendation. The Hero of 1,000 Faces. That's a good book.
Isn't that Game of Thrones?
No, that's I forgot his first name. Joseph Campbell. Honestly, pretty
Oh, isn't that where he like breaks down all of the mythologies and like the
heroic
yeah. Actually, watched a Netflix series kind of roughly about it. Actually, quite interesting, especially if you're into writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sweet. Well, there you go. Let's talk about the news. Thanks again to our patrons. All right, we got some big ones here. I feel like neither of you are super happy about this. Fissure and the Soul Dynasty have announced that he is retiring from the Overwatch League. They say it was a mutual decision. So Fissure was one of the key pieces for LA Gladiators' success in season 1. He should have gotten more play in London, in my opinion, and then they sold him off, and he kind of showed London who is boss until the very end. Yeah, he's no longer here. He's definitely been around the block with a couple of big teams. We've seen his playtime taper off. Yiska, I need an ode to Fissure here. I want to hear your thoughts. Is this a big deal?
Do you have any limericks for Fissure?
No, but I will say it is sort of. I'm not truly sad because I watched for a piece. I looked through his personal stream afterwards, and he didn't seem sad, and it didn't seem like he felt defeated, and he felt very good about it, and he looked like 21 or 20-year-old kid that figured out that there's still a lot to do in life, a lot to try, and if your heart's not in it, then it's probably not for you. And then that to find out what's not for you is actually a pretty good thing at a young age, right?
Like that's pretty mature,
actually,
right?
At any age, yes, most definitely. Now, I will say he was definitely one of the biggest characters we had in season 1. Definitely a narrative that people could attach themselves to. He had a dope catchphrase that just came up on his stream randomly, like the "Who's better than Fissure? Nobody." And in general, I think we are missing these types of characters in the Overwatch League. We're feeling. I'd be hard pressed to mention anyone else than Dogman and then maybe Cruz sometimes, but
I think God's definitely played that before. He hasn't done it on the Overwatch League stage yet, but God's definitely was huge in the previous tier 1 pre-Overwatch League.
The problem I have is that the shit talkers are also all in that same tier of level play, and it felt much more genuine, much more badass when it came from one of the best players, run up to the MVP, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. We definitely, it's something I think we've discussed on the show a few times before, right? Is that there's Overwatch League is pretty much on lock and key when it comes to PR, and so they try. You can definitely tell that they try to kind of create the right types of drama or whatever, but you can usually tell when it's manufactured, right? And then at some points you just have to take the leash off, let the dogs run. Fissure was a dog that ran, as they say in my hometown of Hutchinson, Minnesota. He's a dog that ran, and it's gonna be a bummer. I mean, Joe, this has to be a big part on. You know, we've always heard that Fissure has had some synergy issues with his teammates. To put it lightly, that there was, I think it was with the LA Gladiators. It was Fissure, right? That said, like, basically he was frustrated because the Western players just didn't practice enough.
Yeah, it seemed like towards the end of his tenure with the Gladiators that things in the locker room kind of went a little sideways. A great comparison to any League of Legends fan kind of seems to me like Fissure was very much a Dardoch character, where incredibly talented player in a role that is kind of shallow, has that star level potential, but is a little bit difficult to deal with from my understanding. And I think for him, I think that he thought that playing within a full Korean team would have solved that. Like, it's just a cultural thing. if I go to this team, everything will be fixed. Turns out it probably wasn't. And this just isn't for him. Like, he's been doing this longer than I think people realize. Like, he was a pro in Here's the Storm in Korea. Not a huge pro, but like, he was trying to do this for a long time. Like, he's been at the grindstone forever. And you can only do that for so long before you're just burnt out of waking up gaming for 8 hours a day on a game that is more of a job than it is anything leisurely. And then you go to sleep and you do it all over again. You know, that wears on you, especially when you've got, you know, expectations to meet and this, that, the other thing. You know, I definitely think it's, like Yiska said, incredibly mature, and you know, wish him the best. Hopefully he's happy wherever he goes, and you know, maybe he can kind of you know, pivot and still be that crazy character just on a stream, you know, and that's cool too, because I think people still like that stuff. You know, people still want you to go out there and be a character and be a personality, and you know, tell everybody you're the most handsome, best main tank ever, and nobody, you know, just wait if I come back to the Overwatch League, you know, stuff like that. You know, I think that he still definitely has room to be that kind of personality that we're kind of desperately needing. So best of luck to him. Hopefully he's happy with wherever he goes next.
So something I do want to point out is that the Soul Dynasty press release did put it as a retirement from Overwatch League. So this is something where, unless something drastically changes, sounds like they mutually agreed to let him go, with the clause that he doesn't come back to Overwatch League probably at least till the end of season 2. Do you think do you think we see Fissure again?
No, but I think what that means is he triggered his. So every contract in the Overwatch League, to my awareness, I think it's a standard clause, is that you have a retirement clause you can pull at any given time, which which cancels the contract between the team and the player, but also makes it so that the player then has a non-compete, meaning he cannot be signed to any other team unless the team waives the non-compete, and they can do that, to my understanding, in order to sell the player's contract to another team. But teams definitely cannot be cheated out of a transfer fee if they don't want to, right? But yeah, I think that's basically what it means. And I also think the way he was talking on the stream, it doesn't seem like he will do anything else but play Overwatch on his stream. It's also like, if you want to stream, it's probably not a good decision to do it maybe in the beginning to create like a fan base for yourself, because that's the game you're known for, and then quickly transition into whatever is hot right now. I think Teamfight Tactics is a good one for him that he also mentioned that he likes playing. He did buy a bunch of Mordekaisers, so I'm not sure how good he is at the game. And yeah, and that's also not good. But but yeah, I think he sounded done.
It kind of sucks too, to be fair. Like, I don't know if, again, reportedly, I don't know if 222 would have brought back any kind of you know, big, crazy aggro Winston meta. But there's always that chance that, like, dang, if you just waited a little bit longer, we might have gotten Fissure back on a hero that he's super comfortable with, maybe on a new team, and being that star player that we kind of know and love. So it's kind of bittersweet in that sense.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting bombarded by my dog right now. He is just
that's okay.
He's super interested in this granola bar.
Dad,
Hey, excuse me.
can I have a little bit of that?
No, thank you, bud.
Are you gonna finish that? Are you sure? All right, I'm just gonna sit and wait here.
It's a pretty good internal Choji voice. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a bummer to see Fissure go, but at the same time, it was almost equally a bummer to see him stay and not play.
Yeah.
Maybe more so for me. I mean, clearly the talent is there. You don't go from being, I don't know. That's a whole probably other conversation in itself. But we have a lot to talk about, including the new Toronto Defiant editions. So the Toronto Defiant have added Logix and Mangachu.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting. We didn't see any Logix in their first match. It wasn't the Outlaws that they played against. Who was it?
I will tell you in a second.
We didn't see him there, but we did see Logix in against Houston. They went 0-4 in the first game, and I don't know why I didn't write down the opponent. And 1-3 in the second game against the Houston Outlaws. God's pretty recent addition overall. Mangachu and Logix also as well. Mixed roster, so Yiska is happy.
It's against the Gladiators, by the way.
Against the Gladiators.
0-4 against Gladiators, 3-1. Houston Outlaws.
So, Yiska, you've tweeted, I believe, publicly a few times about the Defiant and the Montreal Rebellion and mixed rosters and all those kind of convos. So I'd love to hear your analysis on this pickup, because number one, this puts them pretty consistently in 3-3 Western, 3-3 Korean, right? So I think so.
There's a decent split there, yeah.
Yeah,
English speaking in Korean.
Depends on place, yeah.
It's definitely mixed. You had Logix, who was on the Florida Mayhem in season 1. Obviously, they did not perform very well. Mangachu has been around for a long time. He reminds me a lot of Dogman in a lot of the ways, or honestly, Gods as well as another great player of someone who was around from a long time, and you kind of saw their stock go down when they weren't picked for Overwatch League in the beginning, and then boom, they're back up. So, Yiska, what's your take on this one? Do you like the moves? Let's start there.
Okay. Okay. Just to sort of restate what I mean by when I say I like hybrid rosters. I think the potential for hybrid rosters is bigger, and the potential to pick up players, you have a bigger talent pool. If you can make it work with your coaching staff, and the Defiant has coaching staff that speaks both languages. If all of that works, then it's a better platform, I think, in the long run. Now, also as the talent thins out, and we have an episode where I evaluate all of this. So now it depends on the quality of the players that you're signing, right? So
no, it does not. That's not what you said.
Yes, you're not going to instantly be right like there with all the other hybrid rosters swimming at the top like a fat bubble on water just because you're a hybrid roster. That's not what I'm saying, right? But
that was also my nickname for high school swim team, by the way. Fat bubble on water. Sorry. All right, I'm done interrupting you. Somebody in YouTube is gonna make a comment about that.
So I would say, let's start with the positive. I think Logix is a great signing. I was always of the opinion that he could be one of, if not the best and Western player in the Overwatch League if he wanted to. Okay, at this point, I didn't foresee Sinatra or Super going this far, right? But certainly, he has the potential. He has shown the potential in the match as well, even though we can't overhype him just yet, right? Because so little sample size, once again. But so in terms of Logix, I'm absolutely behind that signing. All good. Bringing him in. Also, if we look at the signings from Toronto in general, I don't think I'm over, or I hope I'm not over-interpreting this, but if we're looking, they promoted 3 of their academy players, and they got another player that didn't have a buyout. That should suggest to you that they're trying to get the best bang for their buck while also having players that already have a salary so they can make it till stage 4. Stage 4 for them still a quite easy stage, have a ridiculously easy schedule in comparison. I think one of the easiest ones of any team in throughout the season. And they still potentially have the chance for the play-ins, right? They just dropped out of a play-in slot. theoretically definitely still in reach. Now, a rebuild this late in the season always very hard, and I think there are definitely certain holes in the roster. I'm not convinced of the level of play of gods in terms of like Overwatch League level. Sharik is interesting. I'd probably not pick him over other European main tanks, but once again, if you would need to pay a buyout for those, then that's of course like if my hypothesis is right, and I have no behind the scenes information there, but like that is of course out of reach. But one player that definitely comes to mind is Numlocked, who's been going nuts, and would be a shame if he actually didn't make it in because the roster lock is closing in 5 days, and he's to be fair, with 2-2 we don't know how he would look there, but we would see. We don't really know the meta for sure. But based on the last couple of months, I think he would be a prime suspect that you would want to sign if you're going for a Western main tank. Who else is in there? Who else was signed? I'm missing one player. Mangachu. I mean, we're playing a lot of Pharah in Overwatch League right now. That's actually one thing that I feel like is underappreciated, just how much Pharah we are seeing. On some maps, for some teams, she's a staple, especially on certain 2CP maps. We saw her on King of the Hill. And
hybrid first points.
Definitely. So they have a decent play rate. Now the question is, can he fill then into the other slots, especially on hybrid first points? Can he then slot into the likely Brigade role, whatever, right? Has done it though, so we have to definitely take that into account. I'm also not mad at them signing Canadian talent. I mean, I'm not someone that considers this to be hugely influential, but certainly like the economic bottom line makes sense. I will also say that from the best of my knowledge, Mangachu would have been able to join the Overwatch League, but was seemingly waiting for a team that made sense for him. The Canadian team does make sense for him, so maybe we're underrating Mangachu in what kind of standing he was with Overwatch League teams. Maybe he did get more offers, but didn't accept them and wanted to maybe be in a Canadian team, even though Vancouver was out of the question, or wanted to be on an American team in general. Then the thing, honestly, I'm a big fan of is actually signing a facility for the Montreal Rebellion. Now, honestly, I'd make him a 2A instantly. Now, I don't know if you can, after the roster lock has concluded, sign your 2A player onto a proper player contract if that needs to happen, right? So
it'd be an interesting loophole to see if anybody like triggers that, because I mean, like, look at what happened in the preseason where teams were using their academy teams to loophole the preseason signing kind of exclusivity period, if that makes sense. So it's a possibility.
Now, the Defiant, the thing is, okay, for Valiant, they actually had quite a bit of time with the mid-season break to sort of get their stuff together. I think they even didn't have a play day in the second stage last play day, so they had like, I think 5 weeks or 6 weeks off, so they had a lot of time to rebuild. Defiant doesn't have that luxury, so this is going to be certainly an uphill battle, and I'm not sure I would even rate them better than their old team at this point, which makes sense because it's a new roster.
Yeah,
even though 3 of the players have played with each other, but then again, like, you gotta transition into a multilingual roster. I think as far, 2 players don't speak any form of fluent English, I think, with 8 or Roki or Ivy. But Neko does.
Well, are you saying that Aid and Roki don't speak fluent English? I would say probably not, but I think they can. I think they understand, and I think they can communicate well enough that they get by. Ivy, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Aid and Roki can speak decent enough English.
The problem really is for me that I'm sure there were problems in actualizing this new strategy for them in a more timely fashion, but the clock is ticking, right? And as Valiant needed almost 1.5 stages with a mid-season break in the middle to get to the speed they are now, Toronto needs to do it in much less time and with a less homogeneous roster, I would say.
Sure.
And that certainly probably is going to be a struggle, but their schedule certainly helps with adaptation.
And the whole reported 2-2-2 move coming in stage 4. This is something that's going to shift power structures around. Are you a team that make the stage playoffs in stage 3? No. Okay, cool. You have an extra week ahead of the teams that do have to play in the stage playoffs, right?
Yes,
that's going to set you ahead. With a new roster, building that morale, building that confidence, new players. You have a little bit of a kind of a honeymoon injection where it's a new team. Okay, out with the old, in with the new. Well, we can't think about that old roster like we do this roster. Like it's different, right? I don't know how many times we hear about teams moving pieces around just to kind of find the thing that works, but also just change something up so that it doesn't. It's not representative of the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons. It's not representative of the the 0-7 Valiant, right? So I like this move, weirdly enough, because if you go back and look at the last few episodes, I've been pretty critical of Defiant. I think this postures them pretty well in general, even for the future. They have a core that they could move into for 2020 that's fully Western. They could stay mixed. They could go fully Korean again. They have a lot of different playroom. I think they've been, funnily enough, especially when we talk about the Florida Mayhem, I think they've been very aggressive with their signings, moving people into their academy team, moving people up from their academy team, really utilizing that. Love that. Don't agree with all of the signings. I like Mangachu going into 2-2-2, whatever that looks like, especially with some sort of weird meta. He is a very strange character when it comes to Overwatch and the heroes that he plays. Known for a Hanzo forever, known for the Pharah, known for weird heroes, right? So that's going to benefit them as long as they use it. That's my big key here. You actually have to use his hero pool to your advantage. You don't have to, though. You don't have to do it all the time. You have Ivy, fantastically standard player. You bring in Mangachu for those weird maps. You want to play Bunker on Eichenwald stage 4? Cool. We put in Mangachu. He can still play Brig if that's a thing. I don't know. Logix, again, another super standard player. Can we talk about Logix popping off on his return to the Overwatch League? That kid looked like a monster. I thought this was Movie Star Riders. That was
double
insane.
Thumbs up. Yep, for me.
It was super good. I was so impressed. Somebody who publicly has battled with kind of public anxiety and I wouldn't say stage anxiety, but finding it difficult to reach that potential, and what a return.
Also
and
constantly
I think somebody
also constantly ridiculed. On the Florida Mayhem, when people would talk about the problems, there were 4 other players on that roster that were the problem. Logix largely played well, but without a team to support you, how much can you do, right? And we saw this kind of happening too, where he took the brunt of a lot of the criticism, despite the fact that he probably should not have been the direction for that. And
probably not.
I think most of the analysts, and I know Sideshow and Bren, who we talked to quite frequently, didn't feel that way, but there are definitely a lot of people who are just like, Logic played so well here and their team popped off, and now he's not doing that anymore. And I'm like, well, you can't pop off if you can't even,
I also love how we're measuring how good of a player is by how often they pop off. It's like, guys, that's almost one of the worst things to measure a player's skill.
Yeah, I almost feel like that's the problem. It's also, for instance, for Widows, it's definitely in the aim style. Someone that has, for instance, ridiculous flick aim will always be higher rated than someone that has good game sense, knows where to put the crosshair to, and just has to, do minor adjustments or just has to time shots, even though they're just as effective, or in fact, even more so. Like that was historically always a problem with Logix, that he flew under the radar. Statistically was an absolute monster. If anyone cared about the kill feed, they would have realized. But what you see in terms of like people want, okay, in CS:GO, you have a player that is an absolute freak in terms of flick aims, right? His name is Simple, and this guy, usually you commit to an angle in CS, right? You say, okay, I expect the player to come from this angle, so I'm putting my crosshair here because his head is coming here, right? But there's another angle here, and if he's coming from there, that's my 50-50 chance. I have game sense, I can determine. This kid sometimes puts their crosshair in the middle and is able to make these flick shots on both positions. It's a ridiculous premise, right? Now, whether or not that is actually the best way to play the game, and be that as it may, it's definitely the sexiest, though, right? For wide masses. And also, we haven't seen that type of gameplay much at all, sadly, because of GOATs, right? Like these, aim is a weird thing for FPS players, even though it's definitely, of course, like a big thing. Even in Quake and whatnot, like shooters weren't predominantly won by the sickest aimers. There's strategy, there's timing, there's game sense. These mostly outweigh. Only if you're the full package will you then see sick aim. And very rarely are people able to dominate an FPS only based on aim. And I also think that this was something where we, like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Logic's stats and Logic's win rate, or the team with Logic's last season, and okay, of course we can question the sample size again, the Florida aim looked better when Logic's was on the roster than with Sae player. Now, if you ask anyone who was the better Widow, or would have an MVP voting for the public masses, don't know why you would do that, by the way. Terrible decision. Oh, we're doing that again this year. Fun. But
how do you feel?
Like, of course, it's going to be 95% Sae player, right? So it's sadly the case there.
Our pacing in this show sucks, by the way. I'm just saying. We're 2 things into the news. Anyways, big changes for the Defiant. Really quickly before we move on, how long before you think that this team puts it together? They didn't have a stellar week one, by any means. But is this a team that just needs to kind of get some time together and needs that time to adapt to each other, or is this a team that maybe we won't see much change here for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, I think it's going to be like, when we think about like stage 4 and 2-2-2, like there's so many teams that I just immediately are like, oh dang, I really want to see that team in like some sort of weird DPS meta. That'd be really cool. Toronto doesn't immediately jump out, but again, new roster, new landscape, new meta. I hate to be cliche, but I think anything can happen. Are they going to be like top 5? Probably not, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them like battle for like a 12th or 13th place, like definitely above where they have been. I think they could probably win some matches, like Yiska said. Apparently
they're down at like 17, 18, right?
This stage they are 19th.
So stage they are 19th,
0-5,
minus 14, literally tied with Washington Justice.
Yep.
Justice have tied 4 maps.
And I mean, next week isn't any easier for them.
Like, okay, here's my thing with that week.
But the Defiant overall are 17th. And keep in mind, they went 5-2 in stage 1, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they had a pretty good stage 1.
Here's my thing with their week. I honestly would say completely abandon the last week. It does suck that you're going to have to lose against a direct opponent in Atlanta Rain, but it's so hard. But focusing on this week, you're not going to win against NYXL. That's not happening. And you might, I've given them the 20% chance against Atlanta with the current roster. So should you rather take that week and fully commit into the next season? Stage, sorry. That's the thing, dude.
Wait, you gave Toronto a 20% against Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give them that. Maybe even a little bit more, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I feel like that's low. Like I'm not like Atlanta's 0-5 as well. I need to double check. I mean, I know that they haven't had the easiest.
Yeah,
they've
they had
also
ridiculous.
taken. Yeah, they've done pretty well for themselves, I think. This stage in particular, like taking Shock to like Game 5, pretty impressive. I think they took a map off of Vancouver, played that fairly close. Like, I think 0-5 isn't really that representative of how like they've still been inconsistent. Don't get me wrong, but they still kind of do have something in them, if that makes sense. Does that come out against Defiant? Hard to say.
Yeah, I guess they did have pretty tough. They played Vancouver, then they go ahead, turn around, and they play Shanghai, who definitely is nothing to.
Yeah. The 0-4 loss to Seoul.
Seoul is
kind of sucks.
Man, I don't. Seoul
losing to Philly sucks.
Losing to Houston, losing to Philly. Oh no, that's Paris Eternal. Sorry, they have the same logo. Let's be real. One's a rooster, one's a bird. I don't know. They're the same. They're literally the same color. All right. But anyways, I'd give him 30.
Yeah.
I'd give him 30.
I would say, even though I could have slithered out of this question because I think you asked Joe if they would get it together, I could have said nothing. And it also pains me to say this because I'm like friends with Bora and whatever. I don't think they will get it together this season.
You don't think so, really?
No.
Boo. Well,
I have a good. I
can't wait for the awkward conversations in our Discord now. Thanks.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably a hot take. This is coming in like meteorite, blue hot, like straight from the atmosphere. I don't hate the Toronto Defiant versus NYXL matchup. I'm actually interested to see what that looks like.
Okay.
Hear me out. You know exactly what I'm gonna say, right?
Yeah.
I think they have like a Chengdu chance of beating NYXL. Like they've already started playing these off meta. They're playing in this shifting meta game right now. You know, we're seeing a lot more bunker on maps, especially Control. We're seeing Widowmakers come out, do extremely well. NYXL is still shifting their strategy. Sabiolbi has looked better. I'll give him that.
No, he hasn't. He has looked absolute
Okay,
trash
come on. Go back and watch the Houston game and tell me he hasn't improved since then.
In the game against Dallas, that was I don't think I've seen a player perform worse this season than... No, he actually had a worse game than Sapper against Dallas.
I don't know. I think by and large, maybe he misperformed that game.
I was messing around with the replay video today. I was going to make a checked in the full type of content. Like the stuff he did. If someone told me he was intoxicated from something in his food, I would totally believe that. That was an absolute show.
Again, to my point, like there is a not zero chance that the Toronto Defiant come in, play some weird stuff, catch NYXL looking on a travel date. You know, they have to travel. Both teams have to travel, to be fair, so that's not really a point against NYXL, but there's a lot of things that are changing up for them. Also changing up with Toronto Defiant. I still think NYXL has to be the favorites in this match, but I think it could be closer than what people expect.
Give me a percentage so we can all laugh about you in chat.
I'll say like 35-65 NYXL. Something like that.
I just had an out-of-body experience. Chat, do your worst. Oof.
I don't think it's God. I don't think it's that crazy.
I cannot believe you just did. I gotta brush my teeth with it.
No, all right. Yeah, chat's not digging it, but at the same time, I will say the reaction was he's brushing his teeth.
Unreal.
He's actually brushing his teeth. I will say this: who called Valiant for 11th? What was the reaction on that one, chat? Bunch of idiots. Just kidding.
I think there was also a recent Valiant game that I got correct and Yiska got wrong. Wasn't that not the Valiant London game that they 4-0'd London pretty convincing? What say you, sir? You might want to go back to brushing your teeth.
I'll make a podcast with a toothbrush in my mouth if...
Listen, bud, you might want to check those league standings because by a couple months time, this is going to be the Lord podcast. All right.
So wait, you're saying that you will create a podcast with you only brushing your teeth of Toronto?
No, I will show up on the next.
I hope you get Bach.
No,
on
you're
your
not coming
podcast.
on my
You get
show
to
with
brush.
a toothbrush in your mouth
I'll
and
just
doing
put
the
it
whole
like
thing. I will tell
We're
you
just
this.
going to do it like this.
No, we're not. But you will record a 15-minute Yiska thoughts. What about for our patrons?
Mm-hmm.
There it is. The patron perk.
Sure.
If
All
Toronto defeats NYXL.
How that could happen, yeah. How it happened.
All right. Fair enough. 15 minutes on the Patreon.
You're welcome, chat.
All right. There you go. That's why you be a patron on this podcast, is I just make up perks as these
Perks
guys
on the
say,
fly.
as these guys say stupid things. All right. Next up. So I don't want to, we're kind of running low on time. We've got a lot to go on. I want to talk about Taimu for a second. So we had kind of joked last week. Taimu had posted about not getting a lot of game time, and turns out Surefour has leaked it that Taimu was fined $3,000 for that tweet. Had to take it down, but he got playtime. So the real question is, Yiska, if you're not getting playtime, you're making a minimum of $50K a year. Do you spend $3,000 so that you can play in the Overwatch League? Go.
He's also making a lot more than 50K. Let's be honest here. Dallas players
sure.
are all very well paid. And I think it was a worthwhile investment just economically, because it might have raised his market value possibly for next season, or it might have even been an investment into the rest of his career. Like, it was going badly in that sense, right? If Taimu isn't coming out for 2-2-2 or before, then I'd like to see the team that takes a chance on him, right? What I will say, though, what I saw was actually very good. And of course, it was against a terrible Sebiobi, but he had his number on several occasions. I think I counted 4 times where they both had an EMP, and he EMP'd him into the EMP in a very impactful situation that ultimately, I think 3 of those 4 times won them the fight. So just like completely styling on him generally, I think I only counted Sabiobi getting 2 kills on Taimu, and then of course these direct comparisons don't even make sense, but I'm engaging with Redditor arguments against my article right now, so bear with me. It was like 10-2 or something, and in general I think he looked, dude, the angles he takes on Widow, nobody does. It's just audacious, like especially on Paris. That was
where he's standing in the middle of like the main alleyway on B, just like trying to find headshots through bushes, like randomly shooting past corners, like thinking he was gonna catch like a Sombra cloak. Like, he's just a ballsy like player, you know, just like coming out. He's got his chance, you know. He got potentially got fined. Who the hell knows?
If you, by the way, it's true. If you snipe a cloaked Sombra, you win Overwatch League.
Oh,
that's just the thing. It's like finding the golden snitch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the golden snitch of Overwatch League.
Just win.
Yeah.
I love how all your metaphors are always Harry Potter.
By the way,
literary depth right
here. Hey,
here.
Yiska, how about you answer the question? So, should the Dallas Fuel refund Taimu the $3,000?
No. Like, disciplinary measures need to be taken, but
like you were right. We should have played you. Here's half of that back. Don't tweet about us again. There it is. That's how you do it. PR right there. Anyways, great to see Taimu back. Did great. I hope he lands one of those golden snitch headshots. Yeah. Got a couple funny drops this week. Funny. I don't know. I just kind of grab these things every once in a while. Lighten it up here before we go into like the analysis. This is a fun stat shared by Overwatch League, which was kind of interesting. So Bumper, Stitch, and Haskell have not lost on Nambani in professional play since December 2017.
Yeah, that's
Yiska either, but then again, he hasn't
ridiculous.
played the game since December 2017. So
no, it's worse. They are smashing.
Oh, just lost him.
He's dead.
He's gone.
They're smashing, and then he said like an S word. I don't know if he was going to say scrims.
Scrimbucks. Smashing salami sandwiches.
What's other S words, chat? Quick. Fill us
he's
in.
Just gone. He's just disappeared. What was he saying? Hashtag finish that sentence. No, we're not trolling you. He goes, are you trolling? No, you are frozen, bruh. All right.
There he goes. All right,
He's
hold
trying
on.
to load up. Is he there? Nothing. Wow.
Chat. More S words.
That's how poor of
Keep
a
it
take.
PG.
Even Discord's like, no, you can't say that on the internet. That's wrong.
He was far too young to die. Who reg EMP'd him? I don't know if he can hear me, but that's great, Banter Life.
Jeez.
He's back.
Am I back?
There you're
he's
back. All right,
That's
welcome back.
a Discord thing. They were smashing
I think
scrims.
that was a god
on Numbani.
thing, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. So that map is just, yeah, you're not going to win it. Like it's a problem if you. I almost see like teams prepping. It's like, okay, we're playing Vancouver. Which maps are we playing? I don't want to look. Oh, it's Numbani. Damn. Okay, we got to figure out how to win the other 4 maps potentially. Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. Anyways, interesting stat. Man, over a year and a half now.
Okay, one real quick. I have been pretty impressed with the lower thirds and Captain Planet's work as of like this stage. I think they've really started to like pull some pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
Like the last what was it? Oh, I think it was Guard. Guard came out for London in their last match and like had like a stat that was like 1 in every 20 hacks resulted in a kill. I was like, oh dang, like, is that normal? And then like doing a little bit of digging and asking around, like that's like unheard of when it comes to like conversions on hacks. Like I just, they're really starting. The Captain Planet's like killing it this stage in particular. Like I've noticed like a couple of them, like this whole bumper stitch and Huxall thing. There's another one I can't remember, but like just hats off to him. Just wanted to give him a little bit of credit.
All right. There you go, Captain Planet. You're welcome. Got your time to shine on the show. Next thing as well, kind of interesting. The Atlanta Rain homestand jerseys were teased by Ultimate Esports or whatever the thing is.
That weird jersey company.
Yeah, the jersey that's better than Fanatics. It's kind of this interesting like baseball jersey style stuff. So I have to ask you, Yiska, as a European, where you don't really have baseball and baseball style jerseys, as far as I know and understand.
No, we don't.
What are your thoughts on the homestand jerseys in general, and B, baseball jerseys as esports jerseys? Because right now esports largely just uses like the soccer style, right? Like the dry fit t-shirt.
Yeah,
with a million logos printed on there.
See, the thing is, coming up with gamer culture clothing is really hard. Like we don't really have any requirements. If we would do it authentically, it would be like, I don't know, like cheese crust sauce all over the t-shirt. Like it would come with that. And then
come on, get off
pants.
it. Get off it.
I think everybody has, sweatpants. To be fair,
I personally would love esports hockey jerseys. I think hockey jerseys are the best for esports.
I don't know.
Fight me.
I think what really stood out about 100 Thieves and League of Legends was their jersey choice. They came out and started the baseball jersey, and I thought that was always kind of interesting. It made them stand out. It made them look a little different. I think Echo Fox during their I think they made like a finals appearance in like a domestic. I don't know if it was spring or summer, but they came out and had like a really cool, interesting kind of unique jersey. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like they're just forcing a lot of these different jerseys like really hard. Is that just me? There's just like a bajillion of them now.
I don't understand why we need to be so focused on sports instead of like actually getting designers in and doing some dope shit. Like that was one of the cool things about Brood War back in the day, where they went completely wild. Of course, some of the stuff, like the weird uniforms that look like
the super old ones,
70s one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Those
of
were
course,
rough.
not this ridiculous, and also not KDP. Like
Doing the jumpsuit.
Yeah, these things but just get some designer in to be very creative, also in shapes and whatnot, and develop some style there. Honestly, like different patterns don't faze me much.
This episode of Tactical Crouch, I don't know, Tactical Thread podcast or whatever, or Yiska.
Tactical Thread Count podcast.
Yiska and Volamel give you fashion advice for your esports.
Don't ask me. I have like a total of like 3 shirts apparently.
Like, listen, there's a lot of things that we're authoritative on, and
fashion is not one of them, folks.
No,
fashion would be at the bottom next to like bass fishing.
But let me take that back, because I think I falsely gave you the opinion or the impression that I care about these things. I really don't. They could be sitting there naked.
What if they revealed pinky rings?
What?
Pinky rings? No, Atlanta Homestand pinky rings.
No.
I think you definitely care about that though.
Anklets, Atlanta Homestand.
Yeah, I would care about
anklets.
Chat, what you don't understand is that Yiska has a hand fetish, and he obsesses and has a very strange memory over people's hand jewelry. I don't know how many times
that much is true.
We could be watching an Overwatch stream and he just like for whatever reason, there's nothing possible that he could be upset over, and he just flips out, and you just kind of know that there's like a 70% chance that somebody has a new ring on and he's now just having a small conniption.
Wow.
Yeah. It's all Semla's fault too.
Similar hands. I love it how that's an actual like thing.
That's like leprosy somehow. Everyone was like, it was all good. Then Semla came in with this weird, like, it wasn't really a ring. It was one of these things that you do like in 6th grade, where you like do pearls on like strings or whatever, and then they form a pattern. And he had that on, and then just Mitch went nuts, and Zoe went nuts, and everyone went nuts. I mean, Monty, of course, always historically went nuts. I remember he had a whole disc at one of the worlds for League of Legends, where it was literally the entirety of his hand was like on top of a ring that I think was either like on his middle finger or on both fingers. Like, yeah, I'm not a fan.
This jewelry podcast sponsored by Battle Crab Maid and Peter Y. Thank you for supporting the
We're gonna refund
hand jewelry.
We're gonna refund all the Patreon.
No. Actually, let's make it that. I will, if we do the stream, right, for the what do we call it, like night stream, whatever.
The game night.
Game night stream.
Mm-hmm.
People in chat should just ask me for specific jewelry or rings for specific casters or talents.
Oh, he'll be able to tell you verbatim.
And
like
I will be able to.
It's disgusting how like accurate, like how he remembers. He has like a photographic memory of people's rings or jewelry that they wear on their hands. I guess it doesn't have to be a ring.
Yeah, it's.
Or is that? I don't know.
All right, I'm pulling in the reins. Knock
Please.
it off, you two. Knock it off. All right, let's talk about some of the matches from last week. Kind of the big upset, I would say. This last week, San Francisco Shock lose to Chengdu Hunters 3-2. So the big question is, Joe, why do the Shock suck?
They don't.
Why are they the
Chengdu
worst team in the league?
Oh,
right
look
now?
at him now talking.
Just Chengdu catches you, man.
Yeah.
Chengdu's just a wily team.
To be fair, the Shock
has
have been caught by a few teams.
Mm-hmm.
They got caught by Atlanta. They got caught by Houston.
I mean, okay.
They did not get caught by
against
Seoul.
Atlanta.
They did not get caught by Uprising or Mayhem, thank God. Yeah, and they get caught here by Chengdu before 4-0ing London. So they either lose in 5 or sweep.
Yep.
By the way,
I think
just so
what's up?
we're not wrong, but I think you said that Atlanta got them. Atlanta lost 3-2 against Shock.
Did I misspeak?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Just so we got it just right.
But
All right.
chat doesn't.
Yeah.
Settle down, chat. It's okay. Yeah, San Francisco Shock wins in 5. But still, it's the Atlanta Reign.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you. What we should probably do a
Chengdu
whole
pretty
segment
good.
on this. So is it
What?
Chengdu pretty good or Shock really struggling here in stage 3?
I would say struggling. I think it's difficult to kind of stay motivated. It's difficult to stay at the top for as long as they did.
Why?
I think. Well, you're out there every week. You know, you're practicing. I think pretty equally for each match. I think people are gunning specifically for you in your matches, if that makes sense. Like just like how NYXL was in season 1, like you're the team to beat, just like how the Titans are. So people want to beat you. That's kind of a statement victory for them. And I think that's possibly how teams are looking at the Shock. Like they kind of have to prove themselves versus this team. Do I think that the Shock will definitely, do I think that they'll kind of turn around in playoffs? Probably. I think they're better suited for like a playoff format where they have one opponent in front of them. They just have to beat that opponent and then they go to the next opponent, right? I think they're probably made for that. I don't think they're struggling per se. I think they're kind of settling down. I think they had their peak stage 2. And yeah, they're just kind of settling in. Pretty uncharacteristic losses, you know, like obviously against Houston and Chengdu. Is it a question of how seriously they took those matches? I don't know. Chengdu, again, very difficult to prepare for. Like, that's a team you don't want to have to play a whole ton of in the regular stage games. When you play them in the playoffs, a little bit easier to handle and to manage. But yeah, difficult to prepare for, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say at this point, though, if someone was to make power rankings, I think you have to put Vancouver at number 1.
Yeah.
Just like 100%. How they trounced Gladiators. Of course, yes, it is kind of a problem to lose against Valiant, even though Valiant is definitely the only up and up, but they're probably not a top 3 team just yet. But that seemed to give them a little bit fire under their butts. And with Shock falling off, with NYXL looking as they did against Dallas, I think you got to give it to Vancouver at this point.
Yep. 100%. Totally with you there. And while we have the Chengdu doing well, you know, gotta love me some of that. The Valiant, man, this turnaround from this roster has been anything but unimpressive. This has been pretty crazy. Like, you go from being terrible in the first 2 stages, putting a main tank on main support, and now you go to 4-0ing London Spitfire and, you know, arguably being a top 3 team, maybe a top 4 team, depending on where you put them.
Top 5, I think, with Hangzhou as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, LA beating London. Like, that's pretty impressive. And to be fair, AI called this, so I'm a little bit biased, but they look convincing when they did it, too. Granted, this is a London that still is, like, trying to figure out where they sit. They're playing guard over Prophet. They're playing specifically Sombra now, where they haven't in the past. Where do we want to go with this? Do we want to talk about how good Valiant is, or do we want to talk about, like, London being weird?
Yes.
I'm so triggered by London.
Yes.
I'm so triggered off the planet by London. Like, okay, so, okay, we want to play Sombra Goats. So, Prophet, he actually hasn't looked too good on Sombra. So what we'll do is take him out, even though we know he, A, is very flexible, and B, is definitely a better brig than Birdring. Like, what's the That's the thing. Like, I don't understand. Like, the thing is, London's previously showed some promise, but that move is just, I don't know, beyond my comprehension. The only thing, okay, here's the caveat I have to give. It's possible that people have injuries. That's actually, I'm trying to put a feature on this together. There are more injuries in Overwatch League than people would expect.
Injuries?
As in, like
repetitive
carpal
stress
tunnel.
injury. Yeah.
Yeah,
RSI.
stuff like this. Yeah.
Getting sick, I guess, wouldn't be an injury, but people get sick. You gotta sit out.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
But what do you think makes Valiant so good? Is it that is it the coaching staff? Is it the system? Is it them being ahead of the game when it comes to the meta? What would you, if you had to pick one specific thing, what do you think has really skyrocketed Valiant to the highest of highs and being within the top 5, arguably? I think Super at the end of their recent match in the winners interview said that they were the best team next to the Shock, obviously.
So,
though, to be fair, he didn't want to answer the question.
No, not at all.
Like, so it was very much like, I don't want to, like, you have to pick
I
one.
don't know, the
Valiant. So I don't know if I could be wrong here, but I don't know if that was not.
I wouldn't say it's
answer.
100% accurate, but I would like to believe that there's probably some shred of truth.
I think that there are teams now that are preparing for the Valiant who wouldn't have prepared for the Valiant before.
Definitely, yeah.
Which is a big deal, right?
Yeah, I've actually really dope content coming out with. I had an interview with both Packing and Mike Schwartz, who's the GM. And both of those, as well as the new coaching staff, are the facilitators of this comeback in what they do. Also, we have to recognize it is a reoccurring thing with the Valiant that after the first unsuccessful stage, they get rid of their head coach and we see improvements. New systems work. If I had to give it to one thing, then it is the system. They have been continuously improving over the season. And while it initially didn't show as much in records, I think they went 0-7, 3-4, and now they're sitting at 5-1. Is that correct? Let's see.
Valiant are 5-2 with a
5-2.
plus 11 map differential.
So they're most likely in stage playoffs as well. Yeah, I think that's just. I described it as a love letter to the power of what did I call it? Trajectory or consistent improvement. I guess is what I'm saying, right? To become better a little bit every day, to sit down long hours with players. And one thing, I guess I will use this quote, but what they pointed out is this is a meta where it's more important that everyone knows their role in and out rather than being a super good player. Knowing the things you need to do and then applying them. And this can be programmed. And once again, I think we were not wrong when we said GOATS is a coaching meta that's we sort of more so possibly than other metas can see the quality of coaching from.
Yeah. There's also just this aspect too where I think KSF had recently discussed it with Invin Global. Is like there's just this aspect of synergy and trust that went away, and there's some players who left the Valiant, who were largely spoken of as being instrumental to the kind of success of their stage one, even if they weren't necessarily the most impressive in and out. You also go from the fact that you go from stage, you go from the highest in your division and second place overall in Overwatch League season 1 to you're now here at the very bottom. You're literally bottom feeding. Can't figure it out. You've got some strong talent. Like I think there's been no doubt that there's strong talent on the LA Valiant roster. They've tried to make changes. They've finally done that. The meta has definitely, for whatever reason, been friendly to some teams that have not traditionally done well in the past, and vice versa with some teams that have. Like there's so much going on there. Trust is such like a funny thing. It's kind of like, why is this, why is this such a good thing? And you're like, the power of love. You're just like,
Yeah, it feels very
you
like
guy. Okay, you. But I do think that there is, and having multiple friends, who play on competitive esports teams, professional sports teams, and everything else. Like, there is a level of camaraderie and respect and trust that does make a team successful, and that's empirical. But it's definitely difficult to quantify, and it's very easy to cop out on, right? So you can't ever be like, nah, you guys had trust in.
Yeah, it's a very like
trust in game 1 of stage 3 or 2, and you guys still lost. Like, no, we didn't.
It's a very convenient like excuse to bring out for a lot of people because you can't prove it. So it's like, oh yeah, we just lost, the team chemistry and that trust, the public can't know what goes behind the scenes. You could be best buds behind the scenes for all we know, right? So like there are kind of these traps. But yes, to Yiska's point, like this is a meta not of great players, but good teams.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the next week's games. Atlanta Homestand.
Oh.
Yay.
Atlanta, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's the wrong button. Sorry.
I mean, it makes sense.
We might as well just end the show because there should be no games next week.
How do you mess up these matches so much?
I mean, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah, you can't. I really can't blame the Overwatch League and like the format. Like you can't expect these teams to just all be bad.
We did.
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Fusion against Shanghai, maybe.
I think there's interesting
I have
upset
Defiant
potential.
versus Atlanta Reign. I do think that there's a world where Defiant can click a little earlier than either of you guys are willing to give them credit for. Trust Baroy.
Look at John trying to make fans. Friends.
I don't have fans, dude. Let's be real, man. I've read those 1-star reviews and negative comments. They're never like, tell Yiska to shut up. Or tell Joe to stop interrupting everybody, or have Yiska stop talking so John can talk more. That's never happened. But I do think that there's a world. I think 30-35 is like where I would put it, 35-40. And
you think they do that well against like the home team?
I think that the home team is just as much of a potential obstacle for teams. They haven't played in the home environment before.
Sure.
They don't know how they're going to affect that. We don't know how they can how they react to that type of pressure outside.
That's true.
Outside of that, I need to double check. Stage.
What you need, bro?
I will say though, I think it is Dogman's racial, if you want, that he gets a buff from a crowd. I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm glad that we're now entering the RPG realm, and he gets a +2 charisma modifier from the crowd.
Neither teams played at the Dallas Fuel homestand, so literally neither of these teams have played outside of Burbank, California. I don't know. Like, I just don't think. I think that home field advantage will be a thing once it's been normalized. But right now, when you throw players and teams into new environments, it does not necessarily mean that it's going to reap positive results unless you're Dallas Fuel playing the Valiant and Houston Outlaws in stage 2. Which, come on. That was a great one for fan service. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that there's a world where that's an interesting one to me, and I think people are immediately writing it off based on the variables that we have in Burbank, not the variables that we have in Atlanta.
It's true. I do think that there probably at least will be one upset this week. I don't know where. I don't know what match, but there's probably going to be one.
Akira says home field advantage is not scientifically proven, at least not in Overwatch, as far as I know.
No, it's okay. I read a 538, I think is their name, article on this once, and there is actually something in professional sports about home field advantages, at least I think in football, international football, as in soccer. And the home field advantage is you are influencing the referee in his calling. Now, that's not much of a thing in Overwatch, is it? So,
referees, lol.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think that there is a home field advantage. I mean, you definitely see it in professional sports overall. I don't know to the level of like influencing the actual outcome of specific calls as much as just having that rallying of the fan base behind you, being in a stadium that you know really well or whatever, and know all the intricacies of, especially in baseball. I imagine Yiska would have some thoughts about how like all the baseball diamonds are, the actual diamond themselves are the same, but some have all grass infields, some have grass and sand, some are all sand. They have different distances to the home run fences in the outfield.
If you're playing in Colorado, it's a little bit more difficult. Your cardio is a little bit more stressed because of the altitude, right?
Yeah, it's just different. There's like some there's something called a pitcher's eye in baseball where they make the background green so that you can see the ball coming at you. But not every stadium has that. As good of a pitcher's eye as others. So yeah, there's a lot of
variables there.
Anyways, totally a tangent to say that I could totally see a Toronto Defiant Atlanta Rain thing being interesting.
Yeah, that just real quick, because I found this very interesting. I never knew this was a thing, but there's actually a maximum of soccer field length and width.
Oh.
So it's not standardized. That is insane to me. Like
if
the
it's a
physical
really long
field
pitch, is not.
Yeah. So if there's actually a long pitch, faster players are way more like soccer field dimension standard according to FIFA. And it's like it has to be minimum 90 meters and maximum 120. That is a huge difference.
That's actually a big difference. What? Yeah, that's
like saying okay,
difference.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know.
That's different. I know. So like, football is standardized as far as the actual size of the field goes. Some indoors, some outdoors, some seats closer to the field, some farther. Hockey, again, totally standardized. Doesn't matter.
I think I don't know enough about tennis to know if every court is standardized, but obviously you have like the different types of courts.
Right.
You have
learned that
the grass,
one from Mario Tennis. Yeah. I know roughly with those roughly with those different tennis court types.
Yeah.
React thanks to Mario Tennis. So pretty good at Mario Tennis, by the way. Okay, this was the weirdest tangent I think that we've ever done on.
Yeah.
I think the other interesting one this week, though, Philadelphia Fusion versus Shanghai Dragons. This one could be interesting. Fusion are kind of they're hanging in there, right?
They're free falling. No, I wouldn't say hanging in there.
You think so? Free falling?
Yeah, I think they're not great. I think they're gonna get smoked. I don't think this is that. I think this is probably going to be one of the better skill games, if that makes sense. Like in terms of quality of the game, this should be a little bit better, but I don't think Shanghai is going to be dropping much against Philly. Philly is a conundrum.
Yeah,
they're very weird to me.
Yeah, they definitely been inconsistent this stage, right? So you have them get 4-0'd by the Spark, which okay. 3-1 against the Gladiators again, okay. 2-1 1-3 against the Gladiators, 2-1 against the Boston Uprising. So they're 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
Then they hop in, defeat the Atlanta Reign in 5. And then we come down and they defeat the Uprising 3-2. So did I hold on? Hold your
Holding the phone.
I love the fact that they played the Boston Uprising twice on the stage. Yiska,
Yeah.
do you love that fact as well?
Yeah, amazing scheduling.
Does that feel, does that feel real good? Does that feel real good?
Feels
So-
amazing.
I don't know. Like it definitely hasn't been exceptional by any means, but I mean, outside of Atlanta, they lost to Vancouver. They go and then, Shanghai. We should probably focus on Shanghai and not. So they defeat the Valiant, going out of the gates. Great.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
then defeat the Reign.
solid.
Not by much. And then lose to the Valiant.
Again,
Which-
understandable. Teams absolutely crushing at this stage.
Jury's out. They lose to who are we talking about again?
Shanghai.
Shanghai. I keep looking at the
They lose to the Valiant. Then they beat Gladiators 3-1. Pretty substantial. Then they beat Guangzhou on,
Not
what would that be,
substantial.
Saturday? No, you should be beating them. And then their final 2 games are again on Saturday against Guangzhou, last match of the day. And then on Sunday, they kick off the last day of the Atlanta homestand against Philly.
I remember when
really
Joe used to have hot takes rather than just be like, "No, this is the
This team
game."
wins. I had hot takes. I
Boo.
said Toronto has a good chance of beating NYXL. Come on.
I mean, that's an LSD take, like a nice DMT trip take, like third
Yeah.
stage dementia type.
Yeah, dude. I went and visited Mr. Rogan and the Machine Elves.
But okay, here's the thing: I'd love to see their parameters by which they schedule matches.
Parameters.
Sorry. Yes. Oh, did I do this German thing again where I only
Parameter?
read ever read them?
Pronunciation. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, we're not going into this, but
I love you. I love you.
the thing is, why is it that the Shanghai can have the last match of the day in a Chinese matchup, and then they have the first match of the next day? And how is it also that the last match of the day isn't the home team?
True.
Last match of the
True.
day. Oh, I see what you're saying.
That
because
is
it's
very
not,
bizarre.
Because it's not that good of a match.
Is it just like, oh yeah, we'll clean the stadium?
That is
Stop cleaning
really weird. Why is that not a thing?
By map 2.
Everybody just leaves
Pick up the
at
popcorn.
game 3.
So yeah, it is really interesting. I think like day one, I think kind of make you're right. It's just weird.
That is bizarre. They didn't even play the last game on day 1. They played Toronto game 3
Yeah.
on day 1.
I was
And then
like-
Shanghai closes it out.
What I will also say, someone made a very good point. I sadly forgot who it was. I think it was Masa, who said putting the homestand as the 5th day of the week of the stage is actually a bad idea because so much is already determined. Like the thing why it was hype was because it was week 4 and like playoffs were determined in that week.
Right.
So if I had okay, you gotta rent arenas. This is all again, we're being idealists
Logistic
here,
things, yeah.
but you probably don't want week 5.
No, because a lot of the stuff just doesn't matter.
Is that always the case though? That stage 4 is where teams are qualifying, or week 4 is where people are qualifying rather than week
most
5?
of the time. I think probabilistically
We probably
much
need to
higher
pull the
chance
numbers on that one, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
On the other hand, dude, it is sad that it's an LA weekend because it doesn't feel that special then for the Valiant, even though I think it will be in a different arena and whatnot. And I'm not sure if the crowd will show up that way, but that one looks nuts in comparison. Like, we'll have Shock against Titans. We'll have the LA Gladiators against the LA Valiant.
Hype.
That is hype. We have Spark against Shanghai at that time.
Hype.
You could argue that Boston against Reign could be, even for the season playoffs, even Dallas against Reign could be one of those.
Yeah, a lot of playoff potential there.
They're going out with a bang.
Every game
man.
is a banger. There's one non-banger game. Next game is then NYXL against Vancouver.
Yeah.
That also happens that weekend. And then Shock against Valiant. All of those are bangers, with the exception, I think, between Boston Uprising and NYXL.
Well, they're bangers.
I'm not convinced that Shock versus Valiant is going to be that much of a banger.
I guess
they
it depends.
won against them once.
If it was right now,
we've discussed.
Sorry,
Yiska,
I'm
discussed
misremembering.
This.
Sorry, I'm misremembering. I thought Titans, but they are the team that defeated the Titans. If this translates into 2-2, we don't know. But
yes, exactly. Big caveat there.
They all suck. Next season they all suck.
But that's 2 out of 8, dude. We have maybe 0.5 out of 8 this weekend.
So there's like half an interest here.
0.5, he says.
No.
Yeah, there's not very good. Just not very good matches, man. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's
even going into the season, did you ever think that the Mayhem were going to challenge the NYXL? No. Did you ever think that the Justice were going to challenge the season 1 runner-ups Fusion? No. Toronto Defiant versus Atlanta Reign, couple of expansion teams, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
And again, that's one of ours. Like, maybe watch this. Guangzhou versus Shanghai, maybe. Fusion versus Shanghai, probably not. Guangzhou versus Washington,
yeah.
Maybe.
Again, that's a Michael Bay game. If you're there for entertainment and you just want to, like, maybe Washington wins, wow, great. Turn off your brain, watch it. It'll probably be fun. Not the best game in the world, though.
This very much feels to me like somebody, they're like, let's take all of the different variables that we don't know about these teams and let's make them play for a weekend. After 2.5 stages have already been played.
Yeah. I guess that's another thing about having the home stands at the end of a stage, is that you kind of the teams have already kind of settled down and they're preparing for playoffs, even though there still is playoff potential. Like, you kind of, granted, we're in a meta shift at the moment, so like there still is a little bit of variability, and there are teams like the NYXL that are shifting styles, so they can be caught, I think. But for the most part, I think at the end of a stage, your teams are really figuring out where they are, and if you have it more towards the middle of the stage, things are a little bit more interesting. Possibly. Yeah. I don't know. I guess, again, another thing to crunch the numbers on.
Yeah, I agree. All right. That's it. We're done. Oh, that's the wrong button again. Wow, I'm really good at this today. Just booed everybody. All right, let's get out of here. This is a fun show. We talked about some things, didn't we?
There were things said.
Things were said.
Words were had.
Bets were made. I can't wait for Toronto to defeat Atlanta because I really want
I can't wait.
I really want that Patreon episode, man.
Is it Toronto beating Atlanta or Toronto beating NYXL? Which one? Or both?
Honestly, either. But I think it was Toronto beating NYXL, now that I remember it.
Yeah.
So, Toronto beating NYXL. All right, I'm all about it. I'd love to see that happen. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. Godhand, you did have a great question about Philadelphia Fusion going full roster next season, or full Korean roster next season. I'm going to pocket that one.
You want me to answer it real fast?
You have like 20 seconds.
Depends on Alarm. I think he's going to be the Decay of next season, the Sinatra of first season. It all depends on where he goes. That dictates the roster.
All right, fair enough. There it is.
Signed.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Before we do, though, let's do new patrons. Actually, before we do that, though, I definitely do want to thank our Tactical Crouch producers, Battle Crab, Maid, and Peter Y. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate all of your incredible support. Above and beyond, good sirs and or madams. All right. New patrons this week, Joe. What's going on?
We've got Jay, our good friend and director, Battle Crab. Much respect on that name. Producer. Whatever.
More important.
Actually,
more money.
that's actually kind of important. Yeah.
Yeah. More. More critical acclaim. Yeah.
Yeah. Producer. You helped the show. Thank you very much, Jane Battle Crab and Emmanuel S. Not a name you see all that often, but I respect it. You know, it's nice to see.
That's great.
Yeah, Emmanuel's a nice name. So thank you to the three of you for supporting the show. Very appreciated. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.
You can also support the show by leaving us a 5-star iTunes review. The best part of that, Yiska, is it's free, so you don't have to pay anything to do that. Just leave a 5-star iTunes review. We'll read it on. We won't read the review, but we'll give you a big thanks on the next episode. Who do we got going on this week, Yiska?
We got from the US of A. We got Connor K. Sweeney. That sounds like Sweeney Todd. A movie I've never made it through in entirety while staying awake.
It's actually like a pretty well-known play.
Yeah.
Adapted to a movie with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And Helena Bonham Carter, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's entertaining. I gotta look into
you, Joanna. Best part about that whole soundtrack is they switch between a flat 7 and a major 7 in that song. Multiple
I'm gonna
times.
pretend like I know what that is.
Amazing. Like really, really clever, and they finally, I don't know. Anyways. All right. Musically fascinating to me. As a former music theory and music major. All right, yeah. So Connor K. Sweeney. Who else?
And then from Japan, JT. And I don't want to acknowledge this, but I guess we have to. Jay says I need to do the chica dance. Bro, that isn't happening. That's not a thing that's happening. I'll tell you, if anyone ever dilutes me into marrying them, I will not dance at my own marriage. Help me out here.
Wedding.
I kind of want you to suffer.
So I will say this:
what I mean.
if we go to BlizzCon this year,
I don't
together,
dance.
If we go to BlizzCon together this year, I'm gonna get you. We're gonna get you to dance.
No,
I promise you. My wife Katie, there's nobody who's a non-dancer who doesn't end up dancing at the end of the night. When you've spent the night with Katie, she's just like you'll end up dancing. I promise.
Dude, you know there's
I promise.
There's a thing in Germany where
of course
when you finish your A levels, you should dance with other gender from your parents. So like boys dance with their mothers and girls dance with their fathers, right?
Uh-huh.
And my mother was legitimately the only person or woman from the guys that wasn't danced with. I sat there, I looked at it, I said, you wasted a bunch of hours learning this. I'm not going to do it.
Don't get me wrong. If I will not dance if I am sober.
Yeah, if there's a 5% chance that I'm
sober
on a dance
dancing
floor.
is not fun, and I'm not convinced it's fun for anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, drunk dancing. Yeah, I've done that. Let's not kid my like that happens. But like choreography, I did it again, by the way. Choreography?
Yeah.
Is that how we got it.
Choreography.
Yeah, that is something I won't do.
Yeah.
You're not okay. Now, if we added like a patron tier that's like $1,000 a month, Yiska learns a hip hop dance. Like you wouldn't do that?
I've done something very, very wrong that you think I would sell my dignity for such a low amount of money.
Like you wouldn't learn like a K-pop dance for like 50 grand.
Dude, this kid is brainwashed about K-pop. Can you stop? Like, I already
so funny.
I joined this call and he's already again like going like off, and I'm like, oh my god, I won't
just
be
like
able to
having a
concentrate
good
again.
time.
So
Yeah.
so funny story about this. So I was we were playing TFT, and so my soundboard lets me like, so when I'm playing games with Katie, she wants to listen to the music I'm listening to, so I can send it over Discord. And but it's like a mute toggle, and there's a bug where like the mute toggle doesn't always mute it when you first load the profile. So we were sitting hanging out in Yiska's Discord, playing TFT, and Yiska all of a sudden was just like, so you're listening to K-pop now, huh, because of Joe? And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, we can hear the music right now. And so I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you got me. Yeah, you got me. All right. Anyways, thanks for hanging out for episode number 40, everybody. We really do appreciate you all being here. Make sure to follow the host at Yiska Out and at Volamel on Twitter, and you can find myself at KickedTripod. Yiska, anything coming up this week? Anything good besides TFT all day, all night?
I swear I spent 8 hours writing articles today, and I got to a point of like, oh, no, okay, let's start something else. So yeah, I have definitely the Valiant piece coming out. I have a piece on Overwatch League viewership minutes and how credible those are. I have something about what else was there? The Defiant I was planning. I've said most of it here on this show, so we'll see if that makes sense. So yeah, I definitely. I also got upgraded in my contract. We can expect pretty much daily coverage from me.
Hey,
from here on.
congrats.
Congratulations.
It's a big deal. That's I can only make a small clap because the music has to go up with it. There you go. There's the clap, though. Congrats. Joe, what about you? Any content coming up?
Got some stuff in the works. Still working on a couple big pieces. Have an interview / feature coming out with Dan. Pretty short, but that's coming out sometime soonish, hopefully. Other than that, yeah, pretty just working right now. Just kind of working on some things that aren't ready to be announced. So
Cool.
Stay tuned, follow up, and come say hi.
Awesome. As for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, and I am mainly streaming and playing and thinking and dreaming about TFT. I don't know. It's been honestly since Halo 2 since the last time I've played this much of a single video game, which is incredible because I paid for college doing that. So, yeah, pretty into TFT right now, having a ton of fun with it. Thank you all for hanging out. If you want to support the show, make sure to go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We've got lots of great perks. We're just over $100 away from removing all of the ads from YouTube, which is pretty cool. And then we're also going to do a bonus show. Imagine this, a bonus show every month, no matter what. That would be pretty cool. So make sure to go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch for that. If you want to support the show, otherwise, you can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/KickedTripod. Subscribe, donate there. We've got some cool Tactical Crouch emotes. You can leave a 5-star iTunes review on iTunes. Just search for Tactical Crouch. It's there. It's great. And yeah, you can listen to the show everywhere. Spotify, YouTube, all the good stuff. So make sure to do that. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, though. This has been episode 40 of Tactical Crouch. We'll see you guys next week for episode 41. Bye-bye.